And yep, Diejo, did you want to do the observing this time?
Sure, you can put it on my screen. Although I'm not sure what hotkey will be it for it. Do you know? Maybe like 3
No,
or 4 or something.
I tried 3. Move your
Okay,
camera around.
I'm moving a bit.
1, 2,
Is it
3,
working?
4, 5. No, no. 1 is the players. 1 and 2 is the players. I don't know how to put it on your camera. I thought it would. Here, I found
Maybe
it.
5 or 6.
You are G. Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Okay, Diejo,
cool.
you're observing.
Awesome. Hopefully that will free you up so that you can give us more of your beautiful casting.
Oof. Some pressure.
And yeah, Dragon Scales, aka Coda, aka Triton. This is basically Coda reskinned, in case any of you were active in Heart of the Swarm. And already kind of an interesting start. RagnaroK, he sent the drone down to make the hatchery, but it got pro-blocked. And instead of going for the third base, he actually made a spawning pool.
Yeah, the classic. And he's going to get a hatchery down at his expansion. But I mean, that's after a spawning pool and after having an idle drone for a little bit. I'm not sure personally that I love this, but yeah, Alexander can be pretty tricky with his follow-ups if he manages to get the hatchery on the other side of the on a different expansion, basically, right? Like, so I can understand it. I don't love it if I'm RagnaroK.
Yeah, I guess the advantage is that you'll have at least your links a lot sooner to kick the probe out of your base, especially if he wants to do something cheesy. That's something you want to prioritize ASAP. So, for example, if you wanted to start a Roach Warren right now, this is something that he will be able to, and not if he went hatch first. But
Yeah.
honestly, I feel like it should only be a link speed here. I don't think I've seen RagnaroK play fast roaches in ZVP in a long time.
Yeah, because the problem with making a Roach Warren is that then you have a Roach Warren, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not really the thing to have. He does get the probe, though, for his efforts, so that's something. And we'll cross the map. I think that these links can be kind of threatening. Like, the Adept will be much less likely to want to go out on the map. But other than that, yeah, it's just he's going to be working at an economic deficit compared to most Zerg players at this stage. So Neeb's still gutsy enough to go with the Adept. I guess he wants to gather the information in case there is something like a Roach Worm, right? Because it's not out of the realm of possibilities. Like, a player like Dark might be willing to slot those in, but for the most part, I mean, all-inning with Zerg into Protoss is very difficult these days.
Agreed. Everyone opts for Stargate most of the games now, which is very easy to hold all-ins with. I think the way he plays with Adepts as well, he really likes to gather that information, have enough time to prepare for all-ins, throw down a shield battery if necessary. But yeah, Neeb in general, very safe player, I think. Not really the guy to leave himself open to cutting corners or taking risks.
Yeah, most definitely. He's going to be really happy heading into the macro game and whatnot if he can get there in a good position. And already we see, like, good moves, right? Like, moving out the 2 Adepts, not the most intuitive thing against a potentially very fast link speed, but he is careful enough to back away in time. So forces out an extra 4 links and still made a few extra Adepts, perhaps in case RagnaroK tried to flood his third or something of the sort, since link speed's going to be a little bit quicker than normal, and has the ability to warp in another 2 now that warp gate is done. So very likely some light pressure with these.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll see a 6 Adept pressure with Oracle behind it. That would be quite powerful. He also might, behind this pressure, take his third base.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think
that
that
a mistake.
I don't think so. Maybe it's just meant to defend the third. Or maybe he wasn't clicked. I mean, he is heading towards the rest of his friends.
Yeah, so I think it was a mistake. That's unfortunate. Oracle, of course, finds no damage in the main base, but he did preserve its shields, which is pretty important if he wants to combo together with the Adept. He also might opt to wait for the second Oracle to join up so they can one-shot drones.
That's a good amount of links, though. That is a lot of links, and the Queens are also in range, just launch padding off of the creep, but 2 Oracles now show up. And that is going to be enough to deter any sort of aggression onto these Adepts. Killing a lot of links there, Neeb. He's going to be pretty happy with that. So, yeah, I mean, aggression pretty much unlikely to work on the side of RagnaroK at this point. And things look pretty good for Neeb to just probe up like a madman, to just tech up if he wants to get those upgrades and whatnot.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal trade. Didn't lose a single adept. Killed about 375 resources of RagnaroK already this game. So not a bad start. And maybe he can even get some drones with the oracles, because this map, a lot of space to maneuver around the bases. It's really not bad.
Yeah, not bad at all. Neeb has not... No, did spot actually the Evo chamber at some point as well while it was building. So, yeah, all in all, he should know what's coming and should know what type of windows of time he has here before RagnaroK can really be aggressive at all. RagnaroK has a different idea here, just gonna poke with his links, but not gonna amount to anything.
He's gonna spot the 4th base going down, which means it's gonna be cancelled.
Yeah, big.
Hopefully.
For sure. Yeah. Wait.
And
was that a cancel?
Yeah, it was. Meanwhile, Neeb just getting blink, +1 attack, so stalkers will be his choice of core units into his army. And meanwhile, oracles are going ham in the natural. 6 drones killed. Wow. Okay, scratch what I said about his mechanics. This guy's on fire.
You just jinxed him a little bit, though. At least one of those oracles will survive, but all in all, I mean, a wonderful start for Neeb here. He has done a lot of damage with those oracles. I'm sure he's happy with the amount of drones that he got, even if the oracles couldn't both escape. And yeah, I mean, combine that with the adept pressure early on, forcing those links, the fact that RagnaroK opened with full first and bled out more links throughout the game, it really, really feels like a strong position here for Neeb.
Yeah, he's got to be happy with this. I think the most important thing is to just have one oracle alive for revelations. Second one is mostly, you know, it's a nice to have, but not really a must have. But looking like he might want to set himself up either to take his 4th base right about now, or maybe even pressure a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the 4th as the probe is heading over there already. And yeah, I mean, he is still adding extra production as well. No real big tech transition from Neeb, so he's just going to be staying kind of like low tech for now. But he does have 6 gases, right? So he's going to start banking up gas now if he doesn't choose a tech path soon.
Yeah, I think he's just going to stay on mass gateway units, maybe even making mortals one by one. It's possible he might want to transition to disruptors later on, which is a natural tech transition in ZVP nowadays. But yeah, it looks like a little bit of a base trade going on, as RagnaroK will cancel that 4th base, while Neeb attacks RagnaroK's own 4th base.
Yeah, some first shields available. A couple were used earlier to fend off the links, but there is enough here to protect Neeb, at least at the front, though it's mostly stalkers tanking against Zerglings. This doesn't look that good for Neeb at all, actually, as he is going to be forced to retreat. The vials are good here from RagnaroK as well, kind of spreading them to make sure that Neeb has to micro on multiple fronts and can't just stay firing with his entire army. And now the flank from RagnaroK from behind as well. The units that were canceling his 4th are gonna come back and join the fray here to really put Neeb in a very difficult position after that fight.
Wow, and that went from bad to worse for Neeb. It felt like he didn't kill anything and kind of got destroyed there, pushed all the way back. Doesn't even have a 4th base to contend with behind all of this. But you do got to keep in mind that RagnaroK is low on drone count. This is pretty committed by RagnaroK, but I think it will pay off.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking really good for him. Neeb might have to involve his probes here if he's going to defend at all. Roaches and Lynx will make it into his main as well, as RagnaroK at least eases up on the pressure on the 3rd base of Neeb. So that just kind of feels like mercy at this point. I feel like RagnaroK could continue to apply pressure. Instead, he's going into the natural where there is no wall off anymore, sending some Lynx in to kill more probes. 6 have gone down in the short vicinity of time here, but Neeb will somewhat stabilize, so still very much a game.
Indeed, still very much a game. Yeah, Hydra's going out, along with extra drones being pumped for RagnaroK. Fully saturated on 4 bases. This is looking pretty good for RagnaroK, honestly.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time for Neeb to go into those disruptors I was talking about. The issue is that... Yeah, and he cancelled his robo. He was making one and he cancelled it.
Yeah, maybe doesn't feel like he has the time, so Robo at the front died, and right, like if you make a Robo right now, what are you gonna make Immortals, right? You have to make a Robo and then the Robotics Bay and then start producing Disruptors. So I can hardly blame him there for the cancel. I think he feels like he has to make something happen with what he has and spend all of his money in that process. But this already looks super, super scary from RagnaroK. I mean, he is bleeding some Zerglings here on the chase, and a few Roaches being morphed in the back will get picked off as well. But once the Hydras catch up to this army, the DPS of RagnaroK is insane. So good kiting from Neeb there. Never letting the Hydra DPS come into play. He's going to do a little bit more of that, actually, successfully.
Yeah, he is definitely on the all-in timer here, because as soon as those lurkers are out, he is going to start regretting the fact that he cancelled that Robo. So he definitely has to kill RagnaroK sometime soon. Neeb is heavily committed to this push, 100%. Especially, those links get into the natural.
Yeah, now he's 100% committed to this push for sure. I mean, there isn't any chargels or anything to aid against the Hydras either. This is not the concave that the Stalkers want, and Neeb is going to tap out as RagnaroK takes game number 1. After a very strong start from Neeb, I have to say. I think that the attack at the 4th of RagnaroK was just not warranted in the way that it happened. There was only 3 sentries with 4 force fields total. And that made it so that the position was just completely unfavorable. Like, it didn't feel like the force fields really accomplished anything at all, and the area was very wide open, where RagnaroK just felt like he had a free massive concave onto Neeb's army.
Yeah, that was just unfortunate altogether for Neeb. Just the decision to attack there probably wasn't even necessary, considering how low the drone count was for RagnaroK. As he was preparing for a counter attack as well, it felt like he just kind of played into RagnaroK's hand a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he held off the aggression very nicely. Maybe it was those extra 2 force fields that he had to use to protect his sentries against the Zerglings that ended up biting him to some degree. Because, like I was saying, like, he was really low on gas as well, right? Or he was really high on gas. Like, he had like 400 gas. And they don't really have anything to spend it on except for maybe sentries. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like definitely he could have sat back. He could have teched up. He could have gone into Colossus or Disruptors or something of the sorts and had a very comfortable game moving into the mid game. But instead, I mean, the thing that we praise him for not doing is what happens this time around to Neeb. Like gets a little bit impatient and doesn't take it to the macro game where he's so good, right?
Yep. Definitely something he might want to consider into this next game on Royal Blood, one of the shortest maps in the pool, as we go into game number 2.
Game number meow. And spawning in the top right hand side of the map, it is the blue Zerg player, RagnaroK. You don't even do camera zooms?
Oh, I'm also doing that? Sorry.
You're observing, right? Yeah. I'm on your camera the entire time.
Okay, got it.
You even do the twist. You're really good.
And on the bottom left, playing for Onside Gaming, it is the American Wonder Boy, Neeb.
The American Wonder Boy.
Getting the block on the hatchery. Did you do the scores?
I did now.
Nice. I knew you did.
Oh my god, I messed it up. Got ink.
Okay, so this is definitely different from the start of the last game. RagnaroK not gonna opt to go for pull first this time. This is the true classic, I think. Just going straight for the third base. This is what most Zerg players opt to do nowadays.
Yeah, against the block, kind of standard. I don't love it, but it is what it is, you know?
You don't love it? What do you prefer?
Oh, it's not that I prefer anything. I just wish the probes didn't block me, you know? But I do actually have a preference. I go for 15 pool, 15 hatch pretty often.
Yeah. If 15 hatch, you should always get it down, right? Except...
Maybe on a tiny map you don't if they send the probe really early.
Yeah, that is an issue with Royal Blood, is that if they do like a... They send a... Oh, sorry, they make the pylon on the wall sometimes, and it gets there even if you make a 15 hatchery. It's kind of nuts, but Hero used to do that in PvZ.
Crazy. Yeah, I mean, like, it's, yeah, if they time it for the 16 hatch, right, like, then you get the 15 hatch off every time, so kind of just gotta trust your Protoss opponent to be good enough to not mistime it or not account for 15 hatch. I feel like 15 hatch is uncommon enough that it's mostly unaccounted for, though.
Yeah, it's definitely not been used in a long time.
Yeah. Wait, who used it, do you think?
Last time I remember seeing it was in like Stargazers or something, but that map was really weird. So
That's interesting.
It's hard to say.
Yeah, I think I was talking to Hearthstone about this at some point, and he mentioned that B, I think, likes to do it. But like he said, B swears by it. But there's not many people other than like B that do it. So yeah. But it's I like it. I think it's pretty cool.
Now B only does 15 keeps in Age of Empires 4,
true.
of course. But yeah, 2 adepts shading into the main. He's not gonna let it finish. Good. And instantly the Stargate gets scouted again. And Neeb is really okay with it. He doesn't even bother making a second Stalker.
That will fall. That's
Wow.
kind of big, actually. And this Adept has to run for his life, as RagnaroK already made quite a few circlings, actually. So this third is going to be very difficult to take. That's why Neeb hesitates there at the wall with that probe. Actually, he didn't hesitate. Just send it to the third anyway, but that's a dead probe, yeah. So
that was
wow,
ambitious. This is extremely ambitious
very
by
ambitious. The Oracle is out, I guess.
It will be able to protect it, but it was really a bold move by Neeb. I respect it, to be honest.
I respect it. I feel like the probe could have been taken down before the Nexus dropped, but yeah, I mean, even dropping the Nexus in the face of danger like that, pretty dangerous. But he gets away with it for the most part. I mean, the Oracle already activated its Pulsar Beam once, so it's likely gonna need the help of its friend here to stabilize this third base.
Yeah, but RagnaroK already being pretty conservative, not gonna make any more links after that. Still just hanging back with his 3 Zerglings, focusing on droning up. So he's gonna be more than fine to surpass Neeb in the worker count sometime soon.
Yeah, +1 milli as well being researched on the side of RagnaroK, and Neeb is going for upgrades of its own as the Forge is about to finish, alongside the Twilight Council. So this should be kind of like a standard PvC that we've been seeing, heavy on upgrades on both ends, heavy on Stalkers by the looks of it on the side of Neeb. And yeah, +1 milli is wonderful against these Blink openers.
Yeah, so if the Blink opener did not work for Neeb last time, it's hard to say if it will this time, as RagnaroK already switching things up. Actually throwing down his Roach Warren, so probably will be going to Ravager Lane once again.
Same.
Pretty standard. Yeah.
Same from his side. So it's kind of like a repeat of last game to some degree. Only Neeb's start wasn't as good. The Oracles were pinned back by the extra circlings. The Adept lost its life early on. So yeah, I'd say it's a very similar game to last game, only with Neeb not finding the advantages that he found early on.
Yeah, I think he definitely needs a few more pickups with these Oracles, or I guess he'll just keep using them for scouting to make sure they don't die to some kind of...
That sucks.
That's sad.
Yeah. That's big.
Well,
I mean,
at least he gets to keep one alive for Revelation.
I guess.
That's something.
It is something. Somewhat of a silver lining here, as Neeb is going to take his 4th relatively fast. Another difference between this game and last is no gases just yet taken, so only working off of 3 gas. Much heavier on army, potentially. I expect charge to start as soon as Blink finishes. +1 attack already done, or pretty much done for Neeb. And extra gateways being added. I do much prefer this style. Like, if you're going to be doing what Neeb is doing, then there's no need, I think, to ingest that extra gas and get units like sentries involved. We saw how underwhelming they were in the last game without the support of something like Colossus. Oh, RagnaroK.
Oh, this is a huge pickoff actually. That 4th base was almost done and it is gonna be cancelled. This is brutal for Neeb, especially because he didn't take his gases at his 3rd base. He was hoping to be able to saturate his 4th at least. Now he's just gonna have oversaturation on these 3 bases for a long time.
Well, did take the gases now at least, so that's a little bit of something for Neeb, but still no real tech building here coming from him, so I'm curious. I guess maybe he just wants primarily only Stalkers and not really augment them with Zealots. I talked about the charge, but it's not really coming.
Yeah, and interesting, once again, RagnaroK on the very low drone count, just spamming roaches and lings. He's going for the same exact play as before. Maybe kind of hoping that Neeb will make a mistake as he tries to push on two sides at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, let's see what happens. But the wall is being breached on the other side of things here, so Neeb is kind of on a timer to fix that, and he's gonna try to. The Stalkers are having a good time here for the time being against the Roaches. The Oracle is doing what it can, but it's only just the one Oracle, and there's no shield battery here either. This is looking kind of nasty for Neeb. Ling reinforcements here, and don't forget there is more on the right hand side as well, now joining with the rest of the army. And with this many Lings, I mean, can you really fight it with Stalkers? Neeb is now warping in Zealots, but they don't even have charge.
Oh, this is extremely brutal and certainly a mistake by Neeb. He forgot charge on his Zealots, and this is a unit that he sorely needed in his army, especially his +2 finishes. That combo is just really good with Zealots against Lings. So
Yeah,
really unfortunate.
That's just the thing, is I don't know if he actually forgot it, because looking and thinking about last game, he only made Stalkers pretty much. Like, he wasn't adding Zealots. So I was talking about the extra gases that he took, and he did the same thing in this game, like a little bit later. And I think his plan was just to make Stalkers, right? Like maybe a couple of sentries here and there. Now adding the Twilight or the Templar Archives finally. But I think not to get charged as soon as Blink finished maybe was a choice. Maybe he was thinking, I'll just add Stalkers, and once his fourth died, he decided, okay, maybe I need some Zealots or something.
Yeah, definitely possible. But as it turns out, not super effective. I think the fact that he did lose his fourth base was the biggest blow to him. Severely hampering his economy at this stage of the game where he wants to churn out as many units as he can. It's just really unfortunate. Now, RagnaroK is already maxed out. He's going to start to pull up money and probably prepare for a push.
Yeah, and this is wonderful from RagnaroK as well. I mean, he's had the counter to Neeb this entire way through. So now he has Banelings, right? And Neeb is heavy on Zealots this time around. But RagnaroK just finished Baneling speed, so he's going to be way ready for this. The Banelings are actually going to slip on through, as Neeb isn't able to block that area with a Stalker, which would have at least costed like 6 or 7 Banelings there. Instead, he's going to attack himself behind and add the ramp with the Archons to try to support. But this base is falling no matter what. And RagnaroK got what he came for. At the same time, a nice counterattack here from Neeb will kill a few workers at this expansion, but not before RagnaroK is back and able to save it.
Yeah, a little bit of a back and forth exchange of blows, but I think we can definitely agree that RagnaroK took the better hand of this deal.
Yeah, for sure.
He does kill that base from Neeb and trades quite efficiently with his army, honestly. Looking at the resources lost tab, this is not something you would expect out of Ravager Bane versus Archon, so really well done by RagnaroK.
Yeah, at the same time, he has been working on that, or up until this point, he was working on that lower economy, right? So his army was definitely much bigger than Neeb. So in that regard, it's good that Neeb managed to keep most of the Archons and whatnot. And honestly, this game feels more doable now than last time the fourth got sniped, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's hard to believe the game started this way. I mean, Neeb still has kind of an uphill battle in front of him.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's not over. It's really not over at all.
I don't think so either. I would have loved for some of those Templars to start planning for the future and maybe saving up to get some Storm involved here. Because Hydras are the natural transition for RagnaroK, and he has already shown Banelings, right? Which are excellent against the Archon, especially the Zealots, obviously. So
Yeah.
Oh, there's
And
Storm
also, yeah, he was researching Storm because he revelated the Hydras. So now he definitely knows he needs a Storm. The question is, does he know Lurkers will be out sometime soon? That, I guess we'll find out. He is starting another Robo, so it's possible that he's already preparing his detection, maybe even start some Immortals, but RagnaroK is not going to make it easy for him to transition.
Yeah, for sure. So he may not know, but he definitely knows that it's an option. So trying to cover his bases there with the Robo. As a Zealot Rambai might find something. No, they're sadly on move command, and that means they're not even going to trade effectively with the Zerglings. The rest of the Roaches are going to reinforce. And yeah, too much of a heads up there. A very long way of creep on the side of RagnaroK there to spot those Zealots. So not going to work out.
Yeah. I guess one thing that you have to commend Neeb for is keeping up those revelations throughout this game and just keeping tabs on RagnaroK's army the whole time. He hasn't really been caught off guard much, actually, in the last few minutes. So that's really good.
That's very true. Another bit of a solid run by this time. No heads up from the creep for RagnaroK, so at least a queen will go down and maybe a few drones before the circlings can get back to defend. Neeb not really having the attention to spare to kill a few extra workers. Maybe like 3 or 4 more could have gone down with perfect micro, but of course a lot of the time you just send the zealots, right? You just ship them, and we have a pretty even game here.
You print them and ship them. That's for sure.
Print them and ship them.
And yeah, Immortal's starting to come out. He's definitely gonna need a few of those to help defend against the lurkers. There's already 8 of them out.
Oh, nasty choke though. I mean, it's so difficult to spread out against these lurkers in this area, so commendations to RagnaroK for choosing this area at all. Neeb might want to try to pounce whenever the lurkers unburrow at all, but now there's more of them, so it's gonna get increasingly difficult. I almost want Neeb to just forfeit this area, expand somewhere else and go counter-attack, because this is gonna be so difficult of a fight to take.
I think Neeb should be okay, because these are unupgraded lurkers. They don't have speed and they don't have range. They're really not that scary if they're just lair lurkers. There's a reason why people only make them once they get to hive.
Yeah.
And RagnaroK not really timing his upgrades that well with the lurkers, but
it's about to change though. The range is on the way. This is a much better area, however, for Neeb to engage, and he knows it isn't gonna be enough, as the path blocker there is gonna play tricks onto his Archons and Stalkers not being able to fire from behind. So nice positioning once again for RagnaroK, and now the lurker range is finished.
Lurker range is finished. He is starting adaptive talents now for the burrow speeds, but Neeb already working on his next step, Stargates and Fleet Beacons. He's gonna go up to 3 Stargates, which means he's gonna be able to pump carriers 3 at a time, which will probably be his choice. Unless he does decide to go into Tempest, which I'm not sure if he would.
That would be crazy. Oh my god, these lurker shots were amazing to start. A little bit too much damage they're taking from the ground army of Neeb. On the other side though, a nice counter attack. This is kind of like a really difficult death blow to this lodge, but RagnaroK is gonna have the luxury of bringing pretty much his entire army, as on the other side the lurkers are just holding off the aggression pretty easily. A couple of Archons, expensive units, will get caught in the back there as carrier production does begin.
And this is where the game is starting to get a bit hectic. Just zealot run-bys everywhere, Neeb splitting his army into 2, and also getting carriers behind it. This is the part of ZVP that I really love to see.
Yeah, if you're on the Cirque side, you don't love to see it as much. You're kind of on a timer, right? Like and that's what Neeb is trying to do, is trying to kind of like feign aggression, trying to puff up his chest and go out on the map and be like, hey, you have to deal with me, I'm coming for you. And that's a beautiful maneuver from Neeb. On the other side though, RagnaroK killing 21 probes with those Baneling run-bys. And yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit surprised almost. This army looks so measly from Neeb. It's so little. But it's difficult to catch it with lurkers for sure. So identifying that he has that advantage. And if he can get to like, you know, 5-6 carriers, lurkers against carriers are not it.
Indeed. He is going to need some more anti-air. Maybe, does he even have a Spire up is the question. Oh yeah, he does. He has a Spire, so he'll be able to get Corruptors out as soon as he sees those carriers. I think as of right now, he doesn't suspect a thing.
Yeah, Neeb has done a very good job of concealing up until now. He will reveal the carriers to stave off this push from his opponent. And yeah, maybe, I mean, the Corruptor transition even is so difficult and so expensive because you don't usually have upgrades on those. And you know, they're pretty expensive units, and so much of your army is committed to the ground. But this is a really good trade from RagnaroK regardless. He's actually going to be able to kill this base. Neeb does have a fresh 4th now base, formerly 5th, and is doing a wonderful job of counter-attacking as well. So good job from him.
Cats, this is getting out of hand. I mean, my minimap awareness is good, but I need more cameras because there are fights going on all over the freaking map. This is complete chaos, and I love it. 37 drones going down and counting.
Yeah, Neeb just doing a wonderful job of kind of avoiding the lurkers, knowing that the carriers will in time be able to deal with this lurker Hydra army. They just have to replenish their interceptor numbers. Unfortunately, there's not another carrier coming out, but I think even just these 2 should be enough. So RagnaroK is going to tap out, and Neeb with wonderful counter aggression, kind of just circling over, running circles over the lurkers, will be able to stabilize and take game number 2, making it a series.
Really impressive by Neeb. I mean, he really stepped up after that game 1, and I love to see it. This is the Neeb that we all love and are used to watching. So I'm really curious to see what he's gonna bring out in game 3. Maybe a cheeky all-in to switch things up a little bit.
Well, not if it's a Neeb we know and love. Surely he's gonna do the same thing. I mean, probably some adept pressure, maybe even the 6 adepts into what we saw pretty much both games, right? He seems to like the blink. Maybe the adaptation will be to get charge lots earlier, or even just keeping his adepts is one way that Neeb likes to deal with the links in the mid game, right? But RagnaroK has done a really good job of identifying what Neeb is doing and going for that +1, and I think that's netted him advantages in that early mid game. And Neeb should adjust, because obviously if it gets to late game, if it gets to the transitions, if it gets to multi-prong harassment, and he is able to get out on the map and show what he's got with his unit control and decision making, I favor him. But before then, RagnaroK, I think strategically is getting the better end of the exchange.
Yeah, I think that was very well said. Yeah, that was basically, if this was a UFC fight, I think RagnaroK would have won rounds 1 and 2, and then Neeb won the rest of them. So, curious to see how that's going to play out on a map that's much bigger than the ones we've watched so far. Ancient Cistern is one of the bigger maps we have in this pool right now. I think only behind Altitude, if I'm not mistaken. So, definitely a bit different. And look at Neeb. He actually sent a 12 probe. That's actually before Pylon Scout. He really wants to block that hatchery.
All right, let's see. RagnaroK is just going for a 16 hatch, so this probe is just going to be there early as hell. But yeah, it's going to work out.
This is definitely going to block a 16 hatch. I think this is one of the cases where a 15 hatch probably would have managed
blocked,
to...
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. So RagnaroK doing his trick again.
Yeah, he's going to probably go into... Oh, wait. Is it the trick, though? He hasn't put a spawning pool yet. Wow.
It's just a hatch first. Hatch at 18.
Is this worth it?
Maneuver.
I mean, the hatchery is still delayed.
The hatchery is delayed, but I mean, you didn't delay drone production in the meantime, right? Like, you kind of just believed that Neeb was going to go up your ramp. And I kind of appreciate that. It's a huge risk, obviously, right? Because if Neeb doesn't go up the ramp, if Neeb doesn't go up the ramp, then you have 18 workers, $300, and a drone in the middle of nowhere, right? So, yeah, he was gambling pretty hard, but I think it works out fine.
Yeah, in the end, it pays off. Neeb is gonna be left with a sad, the opposite of a smile on his face as he walks down with that probe. He's gonna see a hatchery and a natural. I think he won't be too happy about it.
Nah, he'll know too from the timing of the pool most likely, or maybe he thinks that there's a hatch at the third already, but
I think he thinks there's a hatchery at the third.
Yeah. Well, we can look at the camera reactions to see what he really thinks.
I would love that.
RagnaroK supply blocked very early on there. That's a nasty.
I guess he was waiting for the hatchery to finish.
Yeah.
Part of the build. Let him play, cats.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that is the downside that he didn't account for clearly, right? Like, which is the hatchery finishes later, and he still kind of like delayed the overlord, so that supply block there for a little bit.
Yeah, but overall looks like actually a bit of a variation going on with Neeb, as he goes for a second gateway in the main.
Did he do that on the first game to get 6 adepts out?
He did the second gateway on the wall.
And here we see the trickery. I mean, he is doing, he is sending the signal out to RagnaroK that he is doing the second gateway on the wall, but he will have 3 gateways. So we're about to get nasty here.
Stargate as well.
I mean,
maybe he's doing this so that RagnaroK doesn't commit to the main to check the gateway.
Yeah, I mean, from the side of RagnaroK, this looks like the same thing that Neeb has been doing every game, right? But there is an extra gateway.
Once he sees that gateway in the main, he's gonna go on high alert mode though, and Wonder what do you start as a Zerg? You start
Maybe a
pumping more
Roach Warren?
queens? You make a spine?
Maybe a Roach Warren. I mean, queens are not going to help that much. I feel like a spine is kind of sketchy. Multiple spines can work, but a spine is not that great because if they go adepts, right, wherever your spine is not, you're just going to take unfavorable trades. But if you make multiple spines, then against adepts that works out. And Neeb does like his adepts, so we'll see. RagnaroK chooses to make spores. That's for the Oracle. And Neeb not committing to use the gateway just yet, right? He has it, but he's chilling.
I think after he got scouted, he probably just decided that it wasn't worth it anymore. So he'll just stick to making a third base a little bit later than it would be otherwise.
Yeah.
So just going to play a little bit behind economically, I would say.
Yeah, but it goes both ways because RagnaroK did have to kind of adapt and look at the gateway and respect it. So he has made a few extra links. Neeb does have a sizable force of adepts here. So if he manages to not lose them, kind of like he did in game 1, if he doesn't commit to the shades, then yeah, this will be great, especially if he can keep those for later. RagnaroK this time around not going for +1 milli either, so he will not be in as strong as a position if Neeb goes for his normal standard gateway floods. Good recall there, quick.
Yeah, loses 1 adept only. I think it was still okay. He killed 1 queen, if I'm not mistaken. Killed battery at the 3rd, but he does have to shade into that 3rd right now. Otherwise, he might risk losing it. And that would be complete disaster.
The battery not being focused down, RagnaroK claims or believes that he has enough damage to just kill the 3rd, but this is too many adepts. So he will decide against it at the very end. And now Neeb on the other side with Oracles, trying to look for some damage, putting the most HP-wise Oracle at the front. Will get a queen for his troubles as he tries to slide towards the main and see if he can find extra damage there. 1 or 2 more drones will go down to make the tally 4 total. And on the other side, RagnaroK unable to find much. So early game, advantages to Neeb.
Yeah. Good job by him. Neeb does end up losing an Oracle because he AFK'd above the main for a bit. Pretty unfortunate. Yeah, I guess he's just keeping up his tradition of going into the mid game with 1 Oracle only. Maybe he feels like 2 is too much power. So,
fair assessment. Drone will get sniped on its way to a 4th base. So also declares his intentions towards Neeb.
Ooh, Spire.
Very cool.
It's extremely sneaky, and honestly, it has a lot of potential if Neeb doesn't scout it.
It is very cool. Spires are very cool in this matchup. But yeah, I mean, if Neeb does manage to hit before the Muta are out or as the Muta are popping out, then RagnaroK will be in a whole world of trouble. But as it stands, this Spire doesn't look too bad at all. I mean, Neeb is getting +1 attack. That is going to deter him from attacking before then. He is getting a Templar Archives. Same kind of deal, right? So unless Neeb hits a very sharp timing where he wants to add Archons or something of the sorts very fast, he does have six gases and goes with +1, then that is going to be the only timing that I see. Otherwise, Muta are going to be out on the map. And without Neeb scouting them, it's going to be very difficult to deal with them with what he has right now.
Yeah, Neeb attempted to send a 3rd Hallucinated Phoenix into the main, which also got intercepted by queens.
Wow.
But he really has no idea about the Spire whatsoever, except for the fact that he spotted the gases at the 3rd. Yeah. That might be a little bit of a tell.
Maybe.
But as of right now, he's not doing anything.
Now this is terrible. It might be lights out if RagnaroK catches Neeb on his side of the map. Even if Neeb starts crossing the map right now, I mean, it's only 2 Archons against 9 Muta. So this Warp Prism short for this world as well. There is areas in the main that are not covered by Overlords or Creep Tumors, however. So Neeb has actually flown undetected with that Warp Prism towards RagnaroK's main. That might be his one saving grace here, because his army, I mean, it has to do something now. And lucky for him, actually, RagnaroK is going the other way around with his Muta and stopped making Muta as well. So he might struggle to defend this. Neeb needs to keep pushing, though, I feel like.
Yeah, I think... Well, I thought this would be the green light for him to push, but instead he's going to be a bit more conservative and run back to try and defend against these Mutas. Does he have Blink? He does not have Blink. And only 1 Phoenix right now.
Lucky for him, RagnaroK only made the 9 and stopped, though. So only 2 probes have gone down. I feel like RagnaroK had the option here to just commit to Muta and probably just starve out Neeb and kill him over time, but instead he commits to further roaches, which kind of play into Neeb's army. Is it going to be enough, though? This is a lot of roaches, and Neeb has had to invest to try to defend the Muta. The force shields have run out for the most part, so Neeb kind of cornered here. Beautiful corrosive bows onto some of those Archons. On the other side, the War Prism unable to really do anything, as there is no money for Neeb to really try to reinforce. The Immortal is trying to do what it can here, focusing down whatever roaches it can, but there's no shield battery inside, and that's going to push Neeb further near his 3rd base. This Solid Warping might just be enough, with the Phoenix even trying to aid in the fight to remove some of those high DPS Ravagers from the fight. The War Prism comes back, just F2'd, but it's just going to sit there idly and sadly for now.
Yeah, this is really unfortunate for Neeb. The undetected Spire does it once again.